Hello, everyone. Before anyone gets all up in flames or starts praising me, I'm not here to talk about why safe spaces are a terrible idea that no one should use or need to use. Safe spaces are good sometimes. And before we get into all the nitty gritty of the video, let's just nail down the definition of a safe space. According to the world's leading dictionary, Google, a safe space is a place or environment in which a person or category of people can feel confident that they will not be exposed to discrimination, criticism, harassment, or any other emotional or physical harm. That's great and all, and I think that safe spaces can be useful for the emotional well being of certain people. So here's where I usually put the thesis statement, but let's try something a bit different, make my videos a bit less, boring. So, first I want to look at another seemingly unrelated term, foreshadowing. An echo chamber, as defined by Not Google, is an environment in which a person encounters only beliefs or opinions that coincide with their own, so that their existing views are reinforced and alternative ideas are not considered. Now let's just keep our thought into our insert comical reference to memory here. So, next I want to look at some data about politics and stuff. I know, politics and statistics, they're the dynamic duo of delight, am I right? So, firstly, most people can agree that the LGBTQ community tends to be more liberal, just logically, but for that one guy who will disagree, I dug up a study just for you. It's a bit old, but I believe that when coupled with looking at the community, safe spaces, and just logic, it holds up. Here are some of the stats involving the LGBTQ community. Feel free to look at them, the results should be apparent. We see this in many groups. The LGBTQ community is just an example. Many groups, like black people, favor one political ideology, etc. What this means is that safe spaces will have a majority being or following a certain ideology. This, if not taken into account and taken care of, can lead to the safe space becoming very one-sided. And rather than a safe space being for the people, it becomes a safe space for an ideology. Let's look at an example. I found these posts a while ago detailing the drama surrounding the LGBT subreddit, which is a safe space by the way, it's literally in the logo. The post will be linked in the description, but let me just give you the rundown. Keep in mind I'm lifting some stuff from that post and I'm leaving a lot of stuff out as well, since I wasn't even in Reddit in 2012, so I'm not an expert. On January 14, 2012, the mods of r/LGBT, rmuser, and Silent Agony announced a decision to change the moderation style and tone of the sub. Buried within the announcement, however, was the decision to label users with a shit Reddit says style flair like concern troll. Highly upvoted threads calling for the ending of the red flare started popping up, but only to be removed by the mods. Concurrently, the mods started telling anyone who disagreed with them that their opinions were not valid, while threatening bans and deletions to anyone that disagreed with them. See where this is going? Calls for the mods to step down became frequent. They were all promptly deleted as soon as a mod discovered them. LGBT mods appointed another user, Lorelei, to purposely antagonize the majority of the subscribers. Lorelei is an abusive mod, to put it simply. Members started proclaiming r/LGBT was no longer a safe space because of the new mod abuse. After a period of about 2 months, Lorelei finally resigned from her position as a moderator, apparently due to death threats. Shortly after Lorelei stepped down, Robot Anna is made a moderator. And shortly after that happened, it's discovered that Robot Anna is a moderator for a subreddit called r/killwhitey. Which I'm sure you can tell what that's about. The thread naturally imploded with the outrage that Robot Anna is now their moderator and posts such hate-filled remarks. Basically, at this point, there's a lot of moderator abuse. After this, people essentially just jumped ship to other subreddits like r/aimbo. See, that's a pun. And only those who were fine with the moderation stayed. So why did I waste your time with that story? Well, I want to point out some things. People who agreed with the mods faced no issues, and those who disagreed were silenced. Remember that definition of an echo chamber I asked you to keep in your whatever? So now here's the kicker. Safe space is supposed to be a place where a group of people can express themselves without fear of discrimination or prejudice. This moderating tactic then runs completely counter to that idea. This doesn't always have to be due to moderation. It can be due to a majority supporting one side, for example, almost in an ironic way, creating an oppression within the safe space. See how it's all tying together? The result is this thing I call ideological safe spaces, basically echo chambers. What I've noticed in the discourse surrounding safe spaces is that many of the people against safe spaces are against ideological safe spaces, what safe spaces have become, and many of the people for safe spaces are for, well, regular safe spaces, what safe spaces should be. So how do we prevent this, ideological and safe spaces or echo chambers, that is? In my opinion, digging my heels into the ground here and not being one of those milquetoast centrists, strong and unbiased moderation of these safe spaces are important to give people a platform to express their thoughts and feelings without fear of harassment or discrimination. Does that mean that I believe all speech should be allowed in safe spaces? No. And I know someone might say this, but it's not a violation of free speech since safe spaces aren't some government-owned association and shouldn't be. You can say your shit, just not here. Free speech is a right which is often misused in debate, and I'd like to talk about that some other time. Basically, the types of speech which, in my opinion, should be banned or just not allowed are any type of speech that makes one uncomfortable, such as racist or sexist jokes, because why would you be making racist or sexist jokes in a safe space where people might not feel comfortable with that? A lot of people will say that it's just a joke and you shouldn't get offended, but I just want to remind you that most verbal bullying is also framed as jokes. Also, obviously blatant racism, sexism, etc., and the normal bad things like threats of violence and things like that. I'm not saying that people can't talk about their political views in the safe space. They can, but in a respectful and polite manner, not in this tactless and disingenuous way. Thanks everyone for watching this shorter video. If you have anything you want to say, feel free to comment it down below. I'll see you all later. Have a good one.